Sarah had known nothing but slavery her entire life. Born into bondage on a sprawling plantation in Virginia, she had watched her family torn apart as loved ones were sold to the highest bidder. But she was determined to find a way to freedom, and her hope lay in the whispers she had heard of the Underground Railroad. It was a sweltering summer night in 1855 when Sarah made her move. With a small bundle of belongings hidden in a tattered sack, she slipped away from the slave quarters, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. The moon hung low in the sky, casting eerie shadows across the land. James was waiting in the cover of the woods, just as they had arranged. He was a tall man with a shock of graying hair and a deep, unwavering conviction in his eyes. He had been a Quaker for as long as he could remember, and the teachings of equality and justice had guided him to become a conductor on the Underground Railroad. As Sarah approached, James extended a hand to help her over a fallen log. She hesitated for a moment, her eyes locked with his, as if searching for a glimmer of sincerity. Finding it, she took his hand, and they continued deeper into the woods. "Sarah," James whispered, "we need to be quiet and cautious. The journey ahead is perilous, but I promise you, we'll do everything in our power to keep you safe." Sarah nodded, her voice caught in her throat. She knew the risks, the bloodhounds, the patrols, the ruthless overseers, but she also knew that the promise of freedom was worth it. Over the next few weeks, Sarah and James traveled by night and hid in secret safe houses by day. They met other escaped slaves, each with their own stories of hardship and determination. Sarah's connection with James deepened as they shared their dreams and fears by flickering candlelight. One evening, as they huddled in a cramped attic, Sarah couldn't contain her curiosity any longer. "James," she began, "why do you risk so much for people like me?" James smiled gently, his eyes filled with a mix of sadness and resolve. "Sarah, it's because I believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. No one should be enslaved, and I'll dedicate my life to helping those who seek freedom until the day I draw my last breath." As the weeks turned into months, Sarah and James faced near misses and heart-pounding encounters. They relied on a network of sympathetic individuals who provided them with food, shelter, and crucial information about the safest routes to freedom. Sarah's determination grew stronger with each step, fueled by the hope of reuniting with family members who had been sold away. One chilly autumn evening, as they approached the border of Pennsylvania, they encountered a group of patrolling slave catchers. Heartbeats thundered in their chests as they crouched behind a thicket of bushes, praying to remain undetected. The catchers moved on, their lanterns casting eerie glows in the darkness, and Sarah knew she had narrowly escaped capture. Finally, the day arrived when they reached the welcoming embrace of a Quaker family in Philadelphia. Sarah was overcome with emotion as she stepped onto free soil for the first time. Tears filled her eyes as she realized that she was no longer a slave, but a person with her own dreams and choices to make. James stood by her side, his eyes shining with pride and relief. "You've made it, Sarah. You're free." In the years that followed, Sarah embraced her newfound freedom with a determination to help others escape the bonds of slavery. She became a conductor on the Underground Railroad herself, guiding dozens of fellow slaves to freedom, just as James had done for her. Their paths diverged, but the connection between Sarah and James endured. They both knew that their bond, forged in the crucible of the Underground Railroad, was a testament to the power of hope, courage, and the unwavering belief in the equality of all people. And as the years passed, the whispers of the Underground Railroad continued to echo through history, a reminder that even in the darkest times, the human spirit could triumph over oppression and injustice. Sarah's life as a conductor was fraught with danger, but she couldn't turn her back on those who still suffered. She traveled between safe houses, guiding groups of escaped slaves through forests, swamps, and treacherous terrain, always moving northward toward the promise of freedom. One winter's night, as snowflakes fell softly around them, Sarah and a group of escapees took refuge in a hidden cabin deep in the woods. The occupants of the cabin were a kind-hearted Quaker couple, Abigail and Caleb, who had dedicated their lives to aiding runaway slaves. As the weary travelers gathered around a crackling fire, Abigail handed out bowls of hot soup and chunks of fresh bread. The warmth of the fire and the taste of the food filled the cabin with a sense of comfort and safety. Sarah watched as Caleb quietly approached James, who had accompanied them on this particular journey. She could see the deep respect and camaraderie that existed between the two men. Caleb had been a conductor himself in his younger days, and he and James had worked together on numerous occasions. "James," Caleb began, his voice low, "I have news about your brother Samuel. He's still enslaved on a plantation not far from here." James's eyes widened with a mixture of hope and disbelief. "Are you certain, Caleb?" Caleb nodded. "Yes, I've received word from a reliable source. It won't be an easy task, but if you're willing, we can attempt a rescue." Tears welled up in James's eyes. Samuel had been ripped from their family years ago, and James had feared he was lost forever. But now, the possibility of reuniting with his brother filled him with a renewed sense of purpose. "I'll do it," James said, his voice resolute. "I owe it to Samuel and to all those who still suffer." The plan was set in motion. Sarah, James, Caleb, and a small group of trusted individuals would embark on a daring rescue mission to free Samuel and several others held captive on the plantation. It would require meticulous planning, precise timing, and nerves of steel. As they approached the plantation under the cover of darkness, Sarah's heart raced. She knew the risks were high, but she also knew that the pursuit of freedom often demanded such sacrifices. The night was moonless, providing some much-needed cover as they crept closer to the slave quarters. The group moved with the stealth of shadows, guided by their intimate knowledge of the land and the plantation's layout. The rescue operation was a tense and nerve-wracking affair. They had to be quick and silent, ensuring that no alarms were raised before they could make their escape. Sarah watched as James skillfully picked the lock on the door to the slave quarters, and they slipped inside. In the dim candlelight, they found Samuel and the others, huddled together in the small, cramped space. Fear and disbelief washed over Samuel's face as he saw his brother James standing before him. "Samuel," James whispered, his voice trembling with emotion. "It's time to go," he said. Tears streamed down Samuel's cheeks as he hugged his brother. The others in the quarters, their faces a mix of hope and uncertainty, joined the emotional reunion. With their newfound companions in tow, the group made their way back through the darkened fields and woods, retracing their steps to the safety of the Underground Railroad network. Every step felt like an eternity, as they knew that discovery could mean death or re-enslavement. But Sarah, James, and their fellow rescuers were determined. They moved swiftly and with purpose, their hearts and minds focused on the prize of freedom that lay just beyond the horizon. As dawn broke, they reached the rendezvous point, where a hidden wagon awaited them. With a sense of urgency, they climbed aboard. Samuel and the others now free from the chains that had bound them for so long. The journey to the north was long and arduous, but the passengers knew that they were heading toward a better future. They shared stories of their past, their dreams for the future, and their gratitude for those who had risked everything to secure their freedom. Weeks later, they reached the safety of Canada, where slavery was abolished. Samuel and James found work and built new lives for themselves, free from the horrors of their past. Sarah continued her work on the Underground Railroad, knowing that there were many more who needed help. The story of Sarah, James, and Samuel became a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring fight for freedom and justice. Their courage and determination inspired others to join the cause, and the Underground Railroad continued to whisper its message of hope in the darkest corners of the country. And as the years passed, the whispers of the Underground Railroad grew into a resounding chorus, a reminder that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds, individuals could come together to create change, to break the chains of oppression, and to offer a glimmer of hope to those in need.